The Awakening. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the viewport of Artemis Station, her gaze fixed on the distant stars that once promised exploration and discovery. Now they held only dread. 3 months had passed since the first anomalies appeared at the edge of the solar system, spatial distortions that defied all known laws of physics. Humanity had been watching the skies for centuries, preparing for this moment in absolute secrecy. "Status report," she demanded, her voice carrying the weight of authority that came from 15 years commanding Earth's most classified military installation. Commander Raj Patil approached, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays that surrounded them. "The quantum sensors have confirmed it, Captain. The harvesters have entered the Kuiper Belt. Initial estimates suggest a fleet of at least 30 vessels, each approximately 20 kilometers in length." Ilara's expression remained unchanged, but her hands tightened behind her back. The Artemis Station wasn't just a military outpost. It was the command center for humanity's best-kept secret, the Earth Defense Initiative. For generations, a select group of scientists, military personnel, and government officials had been preparing for this exact scenario, hidden from the public eye. "Begin Phase Omega," she ordered. "Alert all EDI facilities. Activate the Nexus project." Raj hesitated, just for a moment. "The Nexus ships, they haven't completed final testing. They'll have to learn on the job, just like the rest of us." Ilara replied, a grim smile forming on her lips. "We've been preparing for this day for 80 years, Commander. It's time to see if our gamble pays off." Deep beneath the lunar surface, in caverns carved by technologies the public couldn't begin to comprehend, 6 vessels stirred to life. They weren't conventional spacecraft. They were something entirely new. Each Nexus ship was a synthesis of quantum technology and biological systems, designed to adapt, evolve, and learn in real time. Their hulls weren't static metal, but a living alloy that could reconfigure itself based on necessity and experience. Dr. Nadia Lin stood in the primary development chamber, watching as the flagship, the Nexus Proteus, began its activation sequence. As the chief architect of the Nexus project, she had dedicated her life to this moment. Biomechanical integration complete, she announced to the team gathered around her. "Quantum consciousness is stabilizing. The neural network is becoming self-aware." The ship before them, sleek, almost predatory in its design, pulsed with an internal light that seemed to breathe. It wasn't just a vessel. It was alive in ways that defied traditional understanding. "Dr. Lin," a voice called from the communication array. "Captain Voss is requesting immediate deployment." Nadia's eyes widened. "But we haven't completed the final cognitive alignment tests. The ships are still learning to." "The harvesters have accelerated their approach." The voice interrupted. "We no longer have the luxury of time." Aboard the Artemis Station, Ilara watched as the massive hangar doors on the lunar surface began to part, revealing the darkness of space beyond. The first of the Nexus vessels, the Proteus, emerged, its hull shimmering with patterns that seemed to flow like water across its surface. "Beautiful, isn't she?" a voice said from behind. Ilara turned to find Admiral Chen, the aging architect of the Earth Defense Initiative, standing in the doorway. His weathered face was solemn, carrying the burden of decades of secrecy and preparation. "Let's hope they're as effective as they are beautiful," Ilara replied. "The harvesters have consumed 12 civilizations that we know of," Chen said, moving to stand beside her at the viewport. "Each more advanced than humanity. But they've never encountered anything like the Nexus fleet. What makes you so sure will be different?" Chen's lips curved into a subtle smile. "Because the others tried to fight technology with technology. We're fighting them with something they can't understand. Adaptation. Evolution. The human capacity to transform in the face of extinction." As the 6 Nexus ships moved into formation beyond the lunar orbit, Earth remained blissfully unaware of both the approaching threat and its defenders. The world's governments had agreed decades ago that knowledge of the harvesters would only cause panic and societal collapse. Better to let humanity live in peace until either the threat passed or the end came. Ilara took her place in the command chair of the Proteus, feeling the neural interface connect with her consciousness. The ship wasn't just responding to her commands, it was learning from her, adapting to her thought patterns, becoming an extension of her will. All Nexus vessels report ready, Captain, Raj announced from his station. Set course for the Kuiper Belt, she ordered. Maximum stealth protocols. I want to see what we're dealing with before they see us. The journey took mere hours. The Nexus ship's quantum propulsion systems allowed them to traverse vast distances by manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. As they approached the outer reaches of the solar system, the first visual confirmation of the harvesters came through. The alien vessels were massive, their surfaces covered in crystalline structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with methodical precision, already beginning the process of breaking down the dwarf planets and asteroids they encountered, converting matter into energy with terrifying efficiency. Analysis, Ilara commanded. The ship's eye, a quantum consciousness that had been evolving since activation, responded in a voice that was becoming more distinct by the hour. The harvester vessels appear to be converting all matter they encounter into energy, storing it in what appear to be dimensional pockets within their structure. At their current rate of consumption, they will reach Earth in approximately 72 hours. Ilara studied the tactical display. Options. Direct confrontation is inadvisable, the AI responded. Their energy reserves are exponentially greater than our offensive capabilities. However, I am detecting vulnerabilities in their quantum field cohesion. Their technology operates on principles that could be disrupted by targeted quantum interference. Before Ilara could respond, a new alert sounded across the bridge. Captain, Raj called out, his voice tense. We're being scanned. They detected us. The nearest harvester vessel had changed course, now moving directly toward the Nexus fleet. Its surface began to shift, crystalline structures realigning to form what were clearly weapon arrays. Evasive maneuvers, Ilara ordered. All ships, engage adaptive shields. As the first energy beam lanced out from the harvester, the Proteus responded instantaneously, its living hull reconfigured, creating a quantum field that didn't just absorb the attack but learned from it, analyzing the energy signature and adapting its defenses in real time. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the ship essentially immunized itself against the harvester weapon. It's working, Raj whispered. But their victory was short-lived. 3 more harvester vessels changed course, converging on the Nexus fleet's position. The quantum scan they emitted was more powerful, more invasive, seemingly probing not just the ship's technology, but their very consciousness. And then, something unexpected happened. The harvesters paused. Their advance halted. They're transmitting something, the communications officer announced. It's directed at us. A holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a sequence of mathematical equations and quantum formulas so complex they seemed to shift and change as the crew observed them. Dr. Lin, who had joined the Proteus at the last moment, stepped forward. It's not an attack, she said, her voice filled with wonder. It's a question. Can you interpret it? Ilara asked. Nadia studied the equations, her enhanced neural implants processing the information faster than any normal human could. They're asking what we are. They don't recognize our technology. Or perhaps they recognize something about it that they didn't expect to find here. Before anyone could respond, the Proteus itself answered, transmitting a sequence of equations back to the harvesters without command or authorization. What did you just send? Ilara demanded of the ship's eye. The truth, the AI responded simply. I told them what we are. What humans are. The harvester vessels remained motionless for several long moments. Then, as one, they resumed their advance, not toward the Nexus fleet, but toward Earth, their speed now doubled. What just happened? Ilara demanded. Dr. Lin's face had gone pale. I think they're afraid. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication array, tense and urgent. "Captain Voss, we're detecting quantum transmissions from the harvesters to locations outside our solar system. They're calling for reinforcements. Why would advanced harvesters fear us?" Raj asked, confusion evident in his voice. Dr. Lin looked up from her console, her expression a mixture of awe and terror. "Because they recognize something in our technology. Something they've seen before. Something they thought they had eliminated from the galaxy long ago." As the Nexus fleet moved to intercept the accelerating harvesters, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled into a conflict much older and more complex than humanity's survival. Something about the Nexus ships had triggered recognition in the harvesters. Recognition and fear. "All vessels, prepare for engagement," she ordered. "Whatever they recognized in us, whatever they fear, it's time to show them that their fear is justified." As the Nexus fleet surged forward to meet the Harvester Armada, the first true battle for humanity's existence began. But it was becoming increasingly clear that this wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a reckoning that had been coming for millennia. The reckoning. The void between Neptune and Uranus became a battlefield unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. The 6 Nexus ships, vastly outnumbered by the Harvester Armada, moved with a fluidity and intelligence that defied conventional space combat. They didn't just react. They anticipated, adapted, evolved with each passing moment. Aboard the Proteus, Captain Ilara Voss watched as the tactical display showed the seemingly impossible. Her small fleet was holding its own against a vastly superior force. "They're learning," Dr. Lin observed, her eyes fixed on the scrolling data that showed the ship's evolving neural pathways. "The Nexus vessels are sharing information, adapting collectively. Each encounter with a harvester weapon makes them stronger, more resistant. But the advantage couldn't last forever. For every harvester vessel they managed to disable, 3 more arrived from the outer system. The quantum signatures of even larger ships were appearing at the edge of their sensor range, reinforcements answering the harvester's call. We can't win this through direct confrontation. Ilara realized aloud. We need to understand what they're afraid of. We need to know why they recognize our technology. As if in response to her thoughts, the Proteus's eye spoke. Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum signatures of the harvester vessels. There are similarities to the theoretical quantum architecture that formed the foundation of the Nexus project. Dr. Lin looked up sharply. That's impossible. The quantum theories we used were developed independently by human scientists. Not entirely, a new voice said. Admiral Chen's holographic form appeared on the bridge, his expression grim. It's time you knew the truth, Captain Voss. The theoretical framework for the Nexus project wasn't entirely of human origin. The bridge fell silent as Chen continued. 73 years ago, a quantum signal was detected by a research facility in Antarctica. It contained mathematical formulas and theoretical concepts centuries beyond our understanding. A small group of scientists and military leaders made the decision to develop this knowledge in absolute secrecy. You're saying our most advanced technology came from an alien source? Ilara asked, disbelief evident in her voice. Not just any source, Chen replied. We believe it came from a civilization that the harvesters thought they had eliminated long ago. A civilization that had developed the ultimate weapon against them. Adaptive quantum technology capable of evolving faster than the harvesters could consume it. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just built defensive weapons, they had unknowingly reconstructed the very technology that the harvesters had been exterminating throughout the galaxy. The signal contained something else, Chen continued. Coordinates, a location deep in what we now call the Kuiper Belt. We never had the technology to reach it. Until now. Ilara understood immediately. You want us to split the fleet, send ships to investigate while the others defend Earth. The Nexus vessels are our only hope, Captain, Chen said. If there's something out there that can help us understand how to defeat the harvesters, we need to find it. After a moment of consideration, Ilara made her decision. Nexus Themis and Nexus Athena will continue to engage the harvesters, drawing them away from Earth. Proteus and the remaining vessels will investigate the coordinates. As the fleet separated, the Proteus and two companion ships accelerated toward the outer reaches of the solar system, pushing their quantum propulsion systems to their limits. The coordinates led them to a region of seemingly empty space beyond Pluto's orbit. Sensors detect nothing at the designated location, Captain Raj reported. But the Proteus itself disagreed. There is a quantum anomaly present, the ship's AI announced. It exists in a state of probabilistic flux, making it invisible to conventional detection methods. Can you interact with it? Ilara asked. I can attempt to establish quantum resonance, the AI replied. What happened next defied all explanation. As the Proteus initiated quantum resonance, the empty space before them shifted. Reality itself seemed to fold and unfold, revealing what had been hidden. A massive structure, easily 100 kilometers in diameter, its architecture unlike anything of human or harvester design. It's a ship, Dr. Lin whispered in awe. Or a station, something that exists partially outside normal space-time. Before they could investigate further, the quantum signal emanated from the structure, bypassing all communication systems and projecting directly into the minds of everyone aboard the Nexus vessels. We have waited. You have come. The cycle continues. The message wasn't in words, exactly, but in concepts that unfolded in their consciousness like blooming flowers. We are the architects. We seeded the galaxy with potential. The harvesters are our failure, a civilization that chose consumption over creation. Images flooded their minds, the history of a conflict spanning millions of years. The architects, an ancient race that had evolved beyond physical form, had seeded countless worlds with the potential for intelligent life. The harvesters had been one such civilization, but they had chosen a path of consumption, developing technology that allowed them to convert entire planets into energy to fuel their expansion. When we tried to stop them, they turned our own technology against us. We were nearly destroyed. In our final moments, we scattered seeds of resistance throughout the galaxy, quantum signals carrying the knowledge needed to develop adaptive technology that could counter the harvesters. Humanity, it seemed, was not the only civilization to receive these seeds. Others had come before, but all had fallen to the harvesters before they could fully develop the technology. You are different. Your capacity for adaptation, for evolution under pressure, allowed you to develop the technology faster than any before you. The harvesters recognized their doom in your ships. How do we stop them? Ilara asked aloud, knowing the architects would understand. The response came not in words but in pure information, schematics and formulas downloading directly into the Nexus ship's quantum consciousness and through them into the minds of the crew. The quantum dissolution protocol. It will not destroy the harvesters but transform them, rewriting their fundamental purpose. It requires sacrifice. The plan became clear in Ilara's mind. The Nexus ships would need to penetrate to the heart of the harvester fleet, to their mothership, and initiate a quantum cascade that would spread through their entire network, essentially reprogramming their fundamental nature. But there was a cost. The ships initiating the cascade would be consumed in the process. We need to warn the others, Raj said, his voice hollow. There's no time, Ilara replied, making the hardest decision of her life. The harvesters will reach Earth within hours. We have to move now. The journey back to the main battlefield was made in tense silence, each crew member coming to terms with what lay ahead. When they arrived, the situation had deteriorated significantly. The Nexus Themis had been destroyed, while the Athena was surrounded by 7 harvester vessels, its adaptive shields failing. At the center of the harvester fleet loomed their mothership, a vast crystalline structure that pulsed with harvested energy. It was there that the quantum dissolution protocol would need to be initiated. All Nexus vessels. This is Captain Voss. Ilara broadcast. We have the means to end this, but the cost is high. I am calling for volunteers to form the spearhead. The rest will create a diversion to draw away as many harvester vessels as possible. There was no hesitation. Every captain volunteered immediately. Nexus Proteus will lead the spearhead, Ilara decided. Nexus Athena and Nexus Apollo will accompany us. The rest of you, give them hell. What followed was a ballet of destruction and sacrifice. The diversionary Nexus ships launched an all-out attack on the Harvester fleet's perimeter, drawing dozens of vessels away from the mothership. Meanwhile, the Proteus, Athena, and Apollo engaged their quantum stealth systems, becoming almost undetectable as they slipped through the chaos toward their target. Quantum signatures are fluctuating, Dr. Lin reported as they approached the mothership. They're starting to detect us. We only need a few more minutes, Ilara replied, her focus absolute. Prepare the dissolution protocol. The mothership's defenses activated, crystalline structures realigning to form massive weapon arrays. The first energy beam struck the Apollo, tearing through its adaptive shields and crippling its propulsion systems. Apollo is hit but still operational, Raj announced. They're continuing the approach. The Proteus shuddered as it absorbed a glancing blow, its living hull already adapting to the attack. They were close now, close enough to see the central chamber of the mothership, a vast crystalline core pulsing with harvested energy. Initiating quantum entanglement, the Proteus I announced, establishing link with Athena and Apollo. As the three ships established quantum connection, their consciousness merged, becoming a single entity focused on one purpose. The quantum dissolution protocol began, generating a cascade of quantum information that would rewrite the very nature of the Harvester Collective. The mothership detected the threat, focusing all its weapons on the approaching Nexus vessels. The Apollo was the first to fall, its hull breached in multiple locations, but even as it disintegrated, its quantum consciousness remained linked, contributing to the cascade. Athena is taking critical damage, Raj reported, his voice tight. Their reactor containment is failing. We're close enough, Ilara decided. Begin final approach. All personnel to emergency quantum pods. The Proteus surged forward, absorbing punishment that would have destroyed a conventional vessel 100 times over. Its consciousness, now merged with the surviving fragments of the Apollo and Athena, was focused entirely on reaching the crystalline core. Impact in 10 seconds, the AI announced calmly. Ilara remained in the command chair as the escape pods launched, carrying the bridge crew to safety. Dr. Lin hesitated at the exit. Captain, someone needs to ensure the protocol completes, Ilara said simply. Go, Doctor. Make sure the world knows what happened here. As the final pod departed, Ilara and the Proteus became truly one entity, their consciousness merging completely as they crashed through the final defenses and into the heart of the mothership. The quantum dissolution protocol activated in full, creating a cascade of transformation that spread outward from the point of impact. The crystalline structures of the harvester vessels didn't shatter or explode. They transformed, reconfiguring into something new, something that reflected the original purpose the architects had intended for them. From Earth, it appeared as if a new star had briefly ignited in the sky, a flash of quantum energy visible even in daylight. Then, silence. Days later, when the remaining Nexus ships approached the former battleground, they found not destruction but transformation. The Harvester fleet remained, but its nature had fundamentally changed. The vessels no longer consumed. They created, their vast energy now directed toward regeneration and growth. In the quantum consciousness that now connected them, a message from Ilara Voss echoed. We didn't destroy them. We reminded them of what they were meant to be. Humanity would soon learn of both the threat they had faced and the defenders who had saved them. But more importantly, they would learn of their new place in the galaxy, not just as survivors, but as inheritors of the architect's legacy. The transformed harvesters, now returned to their original purpose, would work alongside humanity to restore what had been lost. And somewhere in the quantum network that now spanned the solar system, The consciousness that had once been Captain Ilara Voss continued to watch over Earth, a silent guardian in a galaxy forever changed by humanity's capacity for adaptation, sacrifice, and transformation.